My project was to build a learning solution event for my employer. The system to be taught is a mortgage servicing platform called Sagent. A specialized team will be performing property tax payments and research on behalf of a mortgage servicer. The pilot class was held on November the 26th. It had 10 participants. The learning objectives were access and identify Sagent primary screens, process tax disbursements utilizing Sagent, perform tax line maintenance accurately, and enter notes into the Sagent system. The agenda for the class was welcome and introductions, a Sagent overview, primary screens, processing disbursements, tax line maintenance, creating notes within Sagent, and a course wrap-up. Sagent is a dynamic mortgage servicing system with processing features that manage new loan boarding, transaction processing and banking, investor accounting, collections and payoffs, and other servicing-related tasks. Sagent is a standalone external mortgage servicing platform used by our clients to manage loans and for the payment of taxes. We will be using the system for 4 main property tax servicing functions. These include tax disbursement, tax line maintenance, noting of actions in the system for the purpose of documentation, and opening and closing of research tasks. Participants were given the URL address for the web-based system as well as sign-in data. The facilitator demonstrated the sign-in process, followed by the participants being given an opportunity to practice themselves. Participants were familiarized with the initial screen presentation upon logging into the system. Participants were shown 2 ways to navigate from screen to screen. At the end of each topic, knowledge checks help the students focus on important takeaways. Knowledge checks featured multiple choice questions. Each module also featured a summary of the material that was covered. The facilitator used a question and answer session at the end of each module to engage the participants throughout the day to ensure engagement and conversation. The facilitator carefully and methodically discussed each field and its purpose on the primary screens that will be utilized in servicing the mortgages. This screen is the screen from which disbursements and tax line maintenance is performed. This screen displays previous notes and will provide documentation of past work performed. On this slide is an image of previous tax disbursements, and the facilitator explained how to review the data. The facilitator explained that this will be the primary screen for opening and closing a research task, as well as documenting action. In order to help the participants remember the function of each screen, the facilitator introduced an activity called Name That Screen. Module 2, covering primary screens, ended with a summary, followed by a question and answer activity. In the next module, Processing tax disbursements was discussed. The steps of disbursement were covered by the facilitator, including showing the participants the system messaging. Demonstration and practice sessions followed. A second option for disbursing a tax payment was presented to the class participants, followed by a demonstration from the facilitator and practice sessions for the participants. The final option for disbursing funds on behalf of a homeowner was presented to the participants. Facilitator demonstration and participant practice sessions followed. Module 3, about processing tax payments, concluded with a summary and a question and answer activity with the facilitator. The next module, covering tax line maintenance, was introduced to the class participants. The facilitator explained the importance of the function as well as when to perform it. The purpose of each field was explained on the maintenance screen. As the facilitator discussed each field, it was animated on the PowerPoint for emphasis. Once all of the appropriate fields and screens were explained, the facilitator demonstrated tax line maintenance for the class participants. After the demonstration, participants were allowed to practice on their own. Module 4, covering tax line maintenance, ended with a summary and a question and answer session with the facilitator. The next module discussed noting actions. This slide discusses differentiating between types of notation. This Sagent screen is used for general notation, while this Sagent screen is used for noting action taken on a research task. After fully discussing each of the notation screens, the facilitator demonstrated. Following the facilitator demonstration, participants were given a chance to practice the activity on their own. Module 5, covering noting actions, completed with a summary and a question and answer session with the facilitator. Following the day of instruction in the Sagent system, associates were asked to complete a course evaluation as well as an assessment over the material.